I'd lived in the Arizona desert long enough to know two things. First, everything beautiful comes with teeth. Second, if someone shows up at your gate with a clipboard and a fake smile, they're not bringing good news. It started on a Tuesday morning, warm and bone-dry like usual. I'd just finished painting the last coat on my house. A rich, deep blue that reminded me of twilight skies on the open range. I stood back to admire it, sweat rolling down my neck, paintbrush still dripping in one hand and a can of cold beer in the other. 3 acres of solitude, no neighbors breathing down my neck, and a house that finally looked like mine. It was perfect. That was until I found a bright yellow envelope tucked into the hinge of my front gate. Violation notice was stamped across the top in bold red ink like I'd set the place on fire. According to the paper, I'd violated community color code protocols and had been fined $500 by the Red Mesa Trails Homeowners Association. The part that made me laugh out loud, like actually laugh, was the fact that I wasn't part of the damn HOA. I crumpled the letter, tossed it in my fire pit, and lit it up right then and there. The flames flared with a satisfying whoosh, and I toasted them with the rest of my beer. HOA had no jurisdiction here. I made sure of that when I bought the land 3 years ago. Triple-checked the county records, even had the realtor swear on her overpriced purse. This land was mine, and mine alone. No committee, no bylaws, no suburban Stepford cult telling me what color my damn walls should be. The next day, I was tinkering with the chain on my ATV when I saw a white SUV roll up to the edge of my drive. A guy stepped out in slacks too clean for desert life, and a polo that looked ironed into submission. He walked like he'd never held a hammer in his life. You know the type. He introduced himself as Todd Hayward, president of the Red Mesa Trails HOA. Said it like he was announcing royalty. I wanted to speak with you about the non-compliant color of your structure, he said, glancing disapprovingly at my house like it had insulted his mother. Structure? I raised an eyebrow. You mean the house I own, on land I own, that your HOA doesn't. He gave me a condescending chuckle, like I was a child who didn't understand how crayons work. Actually, sir, as of last year, the community borders were updated. Your property now falls under Red Mesa's design standards. I stared at him for a long second. And I suppose you have the deed to my soul while you're at it? He cleared his throat, pulling out a manila folder. All documented here, including applicable fines. Let me save you the trouble, I said, cutting him off. This conversation is over. You can take your fines, your folder, and your fake border expansion and shove it back into whatever HOA portal you crawled out of. You step foot on my land again without a warrant, and I'll introduce you to the business end of a rattlesnake. Or worse. Todd's face tightened, but he held back whatever he wanted to say. He turned on his polished loafers and walked back to his car. Before he pulled away, I could see him tapping something into his phone. That night, I did my own digging, pulled up the most recent zoning maps, deed history, even the original land parcel documents from 1976. Nothing had changed. My land had never, not once, been part of Red Mesa Trails. I was certain of it. And if someone had altered those lines, they'd either forged them, bribed someone, or both. The next morning, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject, just one line in the body. They're lying. Keep everything. Trust no one. SR double quote. I stared at it for a while. The smart move would have been to delete it and move on. But something about the timing, the sudden push from Todd, the language of that letter, the way he acted like I was already defeated, it felt too coordinated to be just some overzealous HOA clown. I poured myself a second coffee sat down at my desk, and pulled out a thick accordion folder labeled Property, Miller, J. Time to go full war mode. The first shot had been fired, and I don't back down when someone fires first. I didn't expect silence, but I sure as hell didn't expect surveillance either. 2 days after Todd's little visit, I noticed tire tracks near the eastern fence line. Fresh ones. Too narrow for ranch trucks. Too close to the house. I walked the perimeter and found cigarette butts near the back gate, still warm to the touch. Someone had been watching me. Not from the road. From inside the damn fence. I installed cameras that afternoon. 4 of them. 1 on each corner of the house, with motion detection and night vision. I dealt with people trespassing on my land before. Usually teenagers looking for a place to drink beer or shoot coyotes. But this felt different. Organized, legal pads instead of party cups. The following morning, a drone buzzed low over my workshop. At first, I thought it was just some dumb kid with a toy. But this thing wasn't playing. It hovered, scanned, slowly circled the property. Then it dipped toward my bedroom window like a goddamn flying peeping Tom. I raised my Remington, tracked it for a second, and pulled the trigger. The drone exploded mid-air like a 4th of July firecracker. Plastic rained down over the gravel. A black chunk smacked the hood of my truck and bounced off like a cursed frisbee. It felt good. Too good. But I knew I'd just poked the bear with a bigger stick. Sure enough, less than 24 hours later, a sheriff's deputy knocked on my door. Young guy, barely older than the shotgun in my hands, standing uncomfortably under the blistering sun. "Mr. Miller, we got a call about a drone incident," he said, trying to keep his voice neutral. "Claims you destroyed property belonging to the Red Mesa Trails, HOA. I invited him in, offered him a water, and showed him the footage from my new security cams. Drone entering airspace, hovering over my bedroom window, and then, boom, problem. Solved. He watched the footage twice, scratched his head, and said, "Honestly, I'd have done the same thing." Before he left, I asked him if drone surveillance was normal HOA procedure. He shook his head. "Depends on the HOA. But that's harassment. You might want to talk to a lawyer." That afternoon, I called up Linda Nash. I'd met her once through a vet buddy who got tangled with his own HOA nightmare. She had a reputation. No nonsense, sharp, and about as subtle as a brick through glass. I emailed her the video, the original violation notice, and the new zoning maps Todd waved in my face. By evening, she called back. "They're bluffing," she said without preamble. "You're not in the HOA's jurisdiction, not even close. And I don't say that lightly. I pulled satellite imagery and parcel data from the county assessor myself." "What about the updated maps?" she scoffed. "Someone amended them manually. Badly. I've already filed a records request with the city planning department to see who pushed it through. I've got a hunch." That night, I got another email from the mystery sender. Same address. SR. This one had an attached PDF. Looked like an internal HOA memo. No headers, just text, like it had been copied and pasted. "Push through jurisdictional expansion while city planning contact is still cooperative. Kent has spoken to Sheldon. Final signatures needed by month's end." I read it 3 times. Kent had to be Jonathan Kent, HOA's attorney. And Sheldon? That rang a bell. Linda confirmed it. Wayne Sheldon, Assistant Director of Municipal Zoning, apparently known for being friendly to associations that greased the right wheels. Now, things were really starting to stink. Within the week, I noticed more changes. Neighbors who used to wave at me now looked away. A woman from 2 properties down, I think her name was Kathy, drove by slow, phone up, filming my property like I was a zoo exhibit. Facebook was suddenly full of chatter about a dangerous anti-community individual refusing to comply with safety standards. I didn't even have Facebook, but Linda showed me the screenshots. The icing on the cake came when someone slipped a flyer under my windshield at the grocery store. It read, "He paints his house to stand out, but he doesn't care about you. Say no to Miller's militia-style madness." I almost laughed, but I noticed the HOA's letterhead at the bottom. Todd wasn't playing HOA president anymore. He was playing Cold War psyops. Linda wasn't amused. This isn't just bullying anymore. They're trying to manufacture a public safety narrative to justify escalation. Keep everything. Save every note, every screenshot. And Jack, don't confront anyone alone. I nodded, but in truth, I wasn't scared. I was pissed, and I don't scare when I'm pissed. So I waited. I documented. I reinforced the gate, and I loaded the Remington. Because if they wanted a narrative, I'd make damn sure they'd have one worth telling. I was sitting at my workbench, halfway through repairing a busted carburetor on the generator, when I heard the gate creak. Not the wind this time, not an animal. The distinct metallic groan of my front gate being unlatched. That gate is chained unless I open it. And I hadn't opened it. I stepped outside, wiping my hands on a rag, and sure as hell, there they were. 5 of them. Todd, of course, leading the parade in his smug khakis, clipboard in hand. Flanking him were 2 men in matching navy shirts that read, "Community Standards Enforcement," like they were some kind of HOA Gestapo. One of them had a tape measurer already extended, walking along my fence like he was about to appraise the Great Wall of China. Behind them trailed a tall, angular man in a suit. Kent, the HOA's attack dog of a lawyer. And last in line, an honest-to-God private security guy, sunglasses and all, with a sidearm on his belt. I didn't say a word. I just watched them walk onto my land like they were measuring it for a damn shopping center. Kent was the first to speak. "Good afternoon, Mr. Miller. We're conducting a formal compliance inspection under Section 8 of Red Mesa Trails Community Ordinance. You were notified." "You're on private property," I said flatly. "Trespassing." Todd piped up, stepping forward. "Actually, as per recent zoning updates, this property falls within our enforcement boundaries. We're within our rights to inspect any visible violations." The guy with the tape measurer knelt to measure the width of my driveway. Another started snapping photos of my front porch, zooming in on a wind chime my niece made me from bullets and bottle caps. "You've got 60 seconds to get off my land," I said. Calm, controlled. Very aware that the security guy had his hand resting on his holster like he was itching for overtime. Kent smiled. That slow, deliberate, oily kind of smile lawyers wear when they think you're about to punch them and give them the lawsuit they've been dreaming of. "Jack," he said, in a tone that tried and failed to be conciliatory, "you may feel that we're in the wrong, but hostility will only escalate this situation." I turned, walked back into the house, and locked the door behind me. I didn't slam it. I didn't run. I walked, just like I always do when I'm about to make a point. Inside, I opened the gun safe. My Remington sat there, polished and ready. I've had that shotgun since I was 21. It's never been used for anything but coyotes and snakes. But today, it was going to say something. I stepped back out, holding it barrel up, not aimed at a damn soul. I clicked the safety off, loud enough for everyone to hear, and racked a shell. That got their attention. The security guy straightened, hand now fully on his holster. Todd froze mid-clipboard note. Kent's jaw actually dropped a little. "You're trespassing," I said. "Final warning. Next time, it's not a warning shot." Then I pointed the shotgun up and fired one round straight into the air. The boom echoed off the rocks like thunder off a canyon wall. Birds scattered. The guy with the tape measurer hit the ground like we were under mortar fire. The others turned on their heels so fast you'd think I'd summoned hell itself. Security reached for his radio. Kent fumbled for his phone. Todd, red in the face, stammered something about calling law enforcement. I lowered the shotgun, set the butt against my hip, and gave them a smile. "I suggest you make the call from outside my fence," I said. "This inspection is over." They backed off, slowly at first, then faster, retreating down the driveway and out through the gate they'd broken into. I stood at the edge of my porch until they disappeared down the road in a cloud of righteous dust. 15 minutes later, 2 sheriff's units rolled up, lights spinning but no sirens. I waited, unarmed now, hands visible. The same young deputy from the drone incident stepped out, this time with a more experienced officer, older, squinting at me like he'd been through this show before. They asked what happened. I showed them the footage from my security cams. The whole entourage trespassing, inspecting, filming, all without a warrant or permission. The tape even caught Kent rolling his eyes as the security guy gave a half-assed compliance order, like it was the Constitution. I handed over my gun license, my property deed, and a copy of the county assessor's map with my boundary clearly marked. No HOA, no shared governance, no bullshit. The older deputy nodded slowly. "Looks like they're trying to push you into a corner." "They picked the wrong ranch," I replied. "We'll file a report," he said. "But off the record, I'd install a better gate." They left without charging me. I knew it wasn't over. Not by a long shot. That warning shot might have scared them off for the day, but now they had something they could twist. A narrative. A weapon. And if I knew anything about snakes in suits, it was this. When they can't win on truth, they come for blood with stories. Let them try. I thought maybe the shotgun blast would buy me a week of quiet.